Hello and welcome to the Struggles to Success podcast with Dr. Emmanuel. I'm your host, and it's a pleasure to welcome you on this podcast. Thank you very much for joining the podcast and for all the support that you are providing so far to make this podcast go viral. We are on a mission. We've got a movement going to turn struggles into success and also get people to be inspired to learn the skill of turning struggles into success. So why do we do this? Because successful people have always had despairing days. They've had struggles that they've used to become stronger, better, and more successful. And every struggle is an opportunity, and there's always something to learn from a struggle. So let struggles inspire you to become better, stronger, and more successful. And the skill of turning struggles into success is an essential life skill. It can be learned. Some people are born with it, but some people learn it, and you can learn it. And the more you do it, the better you will become. If you learn this skill of turning struggles into success, you become a problem solver, you innovate, you become resilient, and it's part of leadership or management. And at the end of it, you become better, stronger, more successful, and you may even find your purpose. And ultimately, it's about more happiness, fulfillment. You may even get a better job, more income, and you hopefully feel even healthier. And those are all the benefits of learning the skill of turning struggles into success. So we are on a mission, and we have a movement that's going. So at the end of it, we would like every school, every organization to teach the skill of turning struggles into success. We want people everywhere, at home, communities, in their families, and at work, to use and develop the skill of turning struggle into success. And if we can do that, I think the world would be a much better place. Like what Mandela did in South Africa, going to prison for 27 years, but using that to make South Africa a better place. And so that's what this podcast is about. Within 12 months, we would like to make this podcast one of the most popular podcasts. We want to make this podcast go viral with more than 1 million subscribers in 12 months. And we go out and invite incredible people, incredible guests, special guests, to come and talk to us about their struggles and share their struggles, because you don't always have to learn from your own struggles. You can also learn from other people's struggles. And that is what this is about. And so I'm really excited for this podcast to introduce our special guest. He's somebody that I have grown up with. We're brothers. Brothers, same age. We grew up together in Cameroon and Australia, where we went to primary school. He is a brother, not a friend. And he is also on a mission, just like I am. Interesting how we are both on a mission. And you will see that we are both appropriately dressed today. Our special guest for today is the Togo marathoner. And a lot of people who know him on social media would know him as a Togo marathoner. Now, you all know what a marathoner is and who a marathoner is, runs marathons. But Togo is this special, beautiful attire, this outfit, which is from the northwest region of Cameroon. It's a traditional outfit from the northwest region of Cameroon. And that's what we're wearing today. And he's a Togo marathoner because he wears the Togo attire and runs marathons. And he has run 17 marathons. I think I'm right, 17 marathons, which is an equivalent of 715.2 kilometers. Now, I want you to pause a bit and just 17 marathons, 715.2 kilometers. I run 5K twice a week. Now, I'm imagining that, and that is just amazing. That's immense. And that is just not practicing, actually running 715.2 kilometers at marathon. And he wore the Togo to run the marathon in, I think, 5 marathons: London, Athens, Boston, Tokyo, Sydney. And it's just amazing what he does. But he doesn't just do it because he wants to look all handsome in the togo running a marathon. It's not the attention from the togo. It's because he's a social entrepreneur. And he does that because he's doing charitable work. So he has a purpose. And that purpose is to raise funds to make a difference to people's lives. People, children who are deprived, as well as people who are displaced or are refugees as a result of conflict, such as in Cameroon and other parts of the world. And he runs a foundation called the AMOM Foundation that reaches more than 20,000 children every year, providing support, educational support for them, for example, with books that he donates to the children. He also helps build bridges in villages. So in the Nsor village in Cameroon, where he's from, he's helped build a bridge also there. And that, you can imagine what a bridge can do to a community, connecting communities for farming, transportation, school, etc. So amazing work. So he does a lot of philanthropic work. So the marathon he runs is to raise funds to help people around the world. Again, a very, very, very heartwarming mission. As a result of all this, he has been featured and has had a number of awards. Now, I think I can spend 5 minutes talking about the awards, but I want to list a few of them. The first one is he has been the recipient of the U.S. President Volunteer Service Award. And that is an award that is given to celebrate and honor exceptional community and voluntary work linked to the fundraising and running marathons and the work he's doing for deprived communities. He is also in the Guinness Book of Records. In 2023, he went into the Guinness Book of Records for the fastest man to run the marathon wearing the Togo attire. And as well as that, he has been a winner of the Abbott World Marathon Majors Medal for running all 6 major marathons. Now, I can keep talking about his awards, but those just to give you the highlights of the recognition that he's got as a result of the work he has done, changing lives, making a difference. I wonder really where he finds time to also spend time with his beautiful family, his wife and 3 beautiful daughters, with all the running of marathons around the world. And he's also an entrepreneur. He also set up his own business and has a business called the Hotis Reaper, which produces natural hot pepper sauce for barbecues and other food, naturally made in the US, and founder also of a company called Calabash LLC. So with that, I'm just painting the picture of the person we're going to have a conversation today, and he's going to share his story, because you would see him, and I've just painted a picture, and you see all these things he's doing, but often when we hear and look at successful people, we don't know their journey. All we see is great stuff. And so this podcast is about that. And so Kizito Fondzenyuy, you are very welcome to the podcast. I wonder whether you want to say a word and maybe just say something else about you if I've missed something. You're very welcome.
Yes, Dr. Sutebu. Unfortunately, I'll call you Leroy Emmanuel. I mean, we go a long way, and we've known ourselves since we're little kids. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to actually talk about what I've been doing and my struggles. And it's quite interesting because when the first time I watched the podcast, I could relate. And when you sent me this invite, and most of all, you just talked about me, it sounded as if you're talking about somebody else. Because in life, you keep on doing things, And little do you realize how much you've accumulated. And thank you for giving me this podium to be able to share and hopefully inspire people to be able to take their struggles and change them into success. So you basically did a tremendous job in covering my resume. And there's just one or two things that I would like to add. You see this cap, this little feather on my cap. It was given to me by the Fon, which is the head of my village in Cameroon, the Fon on Saw, and it was bestowed on me. I'm traditionally called Mfomi Kile. Mfomi actually means the general, so he made me a general of runners for the entire Saw people. So it's again because of the Togo. And I know people will be wondering, does he really work? Does he have a career? Yes, I work for Citibank. I've been in the banking industry for more than about 20 something, 25 years. And my professional life is I'm a trained financial engineer, and right now I work as a data owner in Citibank. So overall, my 8 to 5, I have an 8 to 5 job, and I use a lot of my extra time to catch up with what you just said, running marathons, preparing pepper, Carolina Reaper, and whatnot. So while we are holding this conversation, hopefully, I'll be able to come up with more things that I do. But I think you basically covered it all. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you very much. And I think I should call you for me now. I think use your title as which has been bestowed to you from the fun of Banso. So I think people know you now with the introduction that I've provided. Now, what is your story? Did you just make it easily? How did you get to where you are now? I know you haven't arrived because it's a journey and you've still got a lot to do. I know
It's
there's
a
still a
journey.
lot of marathons
Yeah.
to do. You've still got a lot of fundraising to do. You've got a lot of achievements. You still plan.
Um. Yeah.
But what you want to share? What do you want to share
So
with us?
um.
How did you get here?
Okay. So first of all, my journey I call it, it's been unique because you see Kizito here. Kizito is made of many parts, and certain things have happened in my life, and I won't call it. I'll call it luck. I'll call it a blessing. I'll call it being prepared for an opportunity. And first of all, I will start with the fact that I'll just get into some of the struggles I had in my earlier years. Um, at first, you see me talking. I used to, I started talking at the age of 6. It was quite a struggle. And when I went through primary school, up to class 4 primary school, I had no idea what I was doing. I was being just pushed through school. But in class 5, I call it a eureka moment. When one of those moments that it was as if I discovered a new world and things started coming together. And why I'm saying this is because I started learning how to use struggles to push myself through. For my parents, they never gave up on me. Because back in Cameroon, when initially you're developing, you're a slow developer, it becomes there's an easy thing for them to ostracize you. But they provided me with the love, they provided me with the support, and as time went by, I grew to be the person that I am. Fast forward, my daughter, my first daughter, she is in the spectrum, autism. And I found that I take that as a blessing because through that, instead of looking at it as if it's a bad thing, it's something, it's a struggle, I looked at it as an opportunity. And why an opportunity? To understand, because autism is not a bad thing. It's another way that people use to communicate, to understand. And I could relate. I took the love that I got from and inherited from the time my parents showed me, and actually transferred that to my daughter, with my wife. And what has happened right now is that 3 days ago, like about when she was 4, she's 11 now. When she was 4, she was diagnosed. She was said she's suffering from developmental delay, autism. But 3 days ago, we got results, and she's no longer considered um, under developmental delay. She's basically morphing out of autism. She's like right at the border, and she's going right now into a regular school. And
Amazing.
how did that happen? I had we had to understand, really read a lot about autism, communicate to her in a different way. When you're talking to her, sometimes we tend to translate pidgin English, which is the language you speak. We tend to translate pidgin English into English. And we say, I'll give you an example, say, take that thing over there and bring it. But with my daughter, you have to tell her, go to the table, look on top of the table, there's a green cup, it has water in it. Can you please take it and go to the sink and pour the water and wash the cup? So it taught me how to be descriptive. Even at work, it helped me. Like even my emails that I send right now, I don't have to have follow-up meetings to be able to describe what I need. Even my presentations are clear and succinct. Everybody knows me for that. Like, hey, Afowiri's emails, Afowiri's presentations are clear and straight to the point. And it's thanks to my daughter. She's Verma. Her name is Verma. And with those struggles, I also picked on that, raised money towards to help provide scholarship with kids who have been diagnosed, and also most of all, we have been creating awareness with other parents within the community. It's quite interesting that autism has become quite common, within the immigrant community here in the US. I don't know about in any other area. And once you get yourself sucked in or get into some of this talk, let's say podcast or some of the shows, and you hear what parents go through. So I've been a little bit lucky. So most of the time, I'm usually the only dad to be able to talk and share my experience. And it's quite interesting how most of the time I see it more as a gift rather than anything. And I'll advise anybody who knows anybody out there whose child is in the spectrum and they're struggling, please, I reach out to me. We have some resources. I can give you what I've learned. I'm not an expert. I know people who are experts. I can connect you to them. Again, that's a struggle that we have. I overcame. Now, again, back
Wow.
to history. When I left high school, um, I spent 2 years. Not I'll call it in American term a gap year. It wasn't intentional. It was more like I could not go to school. Imagine me leaving Sacred Heart. Everybody, all my classmates have left. They're going to UK, yeah, name it, going abroad. And I did high school in GHS Mbengui. And after that, I found myself sitting there. And the reality was that I could not go to school. My parents were not able to send me abroad. My dad was, he told me straight up front. But what happened was that I had to find a way to stay engaged and actually go to school. But as a business person, I looked. It was after the economic crisis when they had the devaluation. Both of my parents were civil servants, but one of the biggest triggers that could not make them, push me forward was the fact that my dad actually had a diabetic coma. He suffered from a diabetic coma, and after that, my mom fell sick. So I had 2 years that I had to spend time to take care of them. And I've never seen you knew my dad, strong man, but seeing him in that state, and also seeing my mom, I'm extremely close to my mom, and also seeing her struggle, it was an awakening moment for me. And I realized that if I don't sit down and actually think how to push my way forward, it was going to be a tough road ahead. So one of the interesting things is that once my dad came to the house and actually asked me if I had visited a local pub. I said, yes, I go there all the time. Our relationship back then was quite aggressive. When you're a young man and you want to go abroad and your dad cannot provide and you're pushing and you think you don't understand. And I said, why? He said, my name it has been featured as what is it? The best beer drinker. Because it was beer tasting competition, and basically, I went there and I won the contest, and he got very worried. Like, you're a young man, you're sitting there, and that's the only award you can win around here. Like, what else can I do? So finally, a friend of mine came, Franco Bongham, and actually told me to come to move to University of Chang. University of Chang had nothing back then. I mean, basically nothing francophone, French-speaking university, and it was still a starter university, so there were a lot of errors that they were making. But I learned in that place. I learned how to survive with nothing, and I learned how to learn and to understand how to study in a different language. Of course, in French, it was difficult. It was not easy, but I had to basically help sponsor myself. And one of the things that my entrepreneurial skills kicked in is that you guys know about soya. So during my second year, I said, instead of bugging my parents all the time and knowing the struggles back at home, I decided to create a barbecue spot between Funcher Street and Samsoya, somewhere in Font Street, because I ended up realizing that everybody drives to Font Street to Samsoya to eat soya. So I said, let me bring the Samsoya to Funcher Street. And I went and actually met the soya guys and actually talked to them and said, after hours, what are you guys doing? Can two of you come and actually start doing soya in Funcher Street? And they were very surprised because I was very young, and they admired my courage. They did not accept to work for me because of the pay, but they really admired my courage. And I actually went and saw a lady who had a bar, and told her that I needed to rent a spot, and she gave me rent free for about 3 months. So that's how I started my little soya place. And guess what? That soya place took me through college. And not only that, I started interacting with a lot of people. And because of my background and what I was doing, because people thought, okay, his parents are rich, or he's doing okay, and he's doing soya. Some were laughing, but some of my friends who were basically hanging around and depending on their parents for pocket money, they were coming to me, and I became a small bank. I'll give you little money for an interest rate. And most of all, an entrepreneur who sees an entrepreneur actually knows. George Fontuma, actually, he's our fellow sacred mate. He actually realized the skill in me. And when I went to Douala, at one time I went to Douala just to visit and met him. In Cameroon, it's so difficult to get a job after college, and I had not finished. And this guy had back then he had one of the biggest telecommunications company in Cameroon, and he offered me a job. And I kept on telling him, George, I've not finished my degree and everything. He said, shut up, I'm investing in you. I know who you are. I know what you've been doing. I've seen your journey. Come work for me. So I had to find myself working in Douala and going back to school over the weekend to be able to catch up. And that's how I graduated. But I'll give a lot of thanks to George for providing me with that opportunity, because based on the struggle, I had this opportunity to work for George, and it opened up my life. Like in Douala, I got to meet a bunch of new people, and it opened up my eye in such a way that I found out that it was America coming to the United States was feasible. So within that, I worked there for about 3 years, and I used the knowledge and the connections that I got by working for George, and actually migrated to the United States. And when I moved out here, interesting enough, I used all my savings. I'd used up all my savings for the ticket, and the entire process. And I knew I was coming into good hands to my sisters. You know, in Africa we don't call cousins cousins. To my sisters, Sister Jackie, Lee, and a bunch of other, Sister March. They actually welcomed me and provided me with the comfort and provide with the knowledge on how to start off. And within that space, I started working on the parking lot at Home Depot. Imagine me being a
Wow.
financial director in FPV and coming to Cameroon, to the United States and working as a lot attendant. So, but
That's
I had been used to my ups and
Kizito.
downs. Yeah.
Kizito,
Go ahead.
let me
Yes.
just take a pause, just also to give you a breather, and also really just for reflection, because you have covered so much in a short space of time, and I wanted to do a few things. The first is to acknowledge um, Papa Fondzenyuy, your father, and may his soul rest in peace. And I'm sure he's smiling as he always does. I can still picture that smile, and I'm very proud of you for what you've managed to achieve so far, and what is still to do. Also, to acknowledge also your mother, um, who is in Bamenda in Cameroon at the moment, and for the work which she did, as you acknowledged her, to bring you up during your early years. And that also set the foundation for who you are now. And so, really, really want to acknowledge that. I also really wanted to, it was really fascinating how the struggles that you went through as a child actually prepared you also for parenting, and parenting, and supporting and helping and bringing out the best in Verma, who, as you said brilliantly, is a gift. And it's not a struggle. Struggles are opportunities, and people who have that skill, and you just demonstrated it and brought it out without any prompts. It's maybe a misnomer when I talk of struggles, because every person I've interviewed on this podcast who understands the skill, they look at struggles as opportunities and gifts. And you have demonstrated how you have made the most of that opportunity to make yourself better. Now you communicate with such clarity that it's above normal, and your colleagues recognize that you're different because of the clarity of your emails, of your communication in meetings, etc. And that is also from the fact that you've had to develop that skill in order to support your daughter Verma, and also what you do in terms of fundraising and the marathon. Is the purpose that you found is also through this opportunity. Again, I'm not using struggle. And then you've also described your journey through school, and needing to develop means of getting your own income to get you to go to university. And now you did that through, and just because we have quite a broad audience, just to explain what you're talking about there about the soya, it's you basically set up a place to grill meat in Cameroon, and use that as a business to generate income to support your education. And that was also an opportunity, because you were not only able to do that, but you're able to not only support yourself, but you started supporting your friends. You became a sort of a mini bank, because people could come to you for loans, and you also made a difference for other people. And then a friend that we both know, George Tuma, who saw clearly that you had a gift and that you were very good at the skill of turning struggles into success, and decided to get you involved in his own business. And that then led you to work with him in Douala, finish your education, You did you have a bachelor's in economics and agribusiness from Chang University, and then subsequently US MBA in international business, etc. And then you found yourself now in the US, and so you can see how the skill of turning struggles into success, and often learned early, has actually opened opportunities for you in life. And you've developed that skill and you're still using it now. You're still using it now. And some do it naturally, but it's something that can be learned. And that is the ethos of this podcast. The more you do it, the better you become. You see things around you, other people see it like struggles and they can't overcome, and you pick it up and make the best out of it. And that is what turning your struggles into success is. Completely taking something that it seems dire, a situation look dire, that you cannot turn around, and turning it into something very positive. And that is what you've just described in the two examples that you've shared. How you were in the position of this is not going to work, this is a disaster, to wow, this is goodness in the world, making a difference in the world, and other people benefiting from it. Not only yourself, but people around the world, like what you're doing with fundraising through the marathons and the charitable work that you've done, and also other people who benefited from the soya business you had in Cameroon, and etc. So it's fascinating, and your story is an excellent demonstration of that. Apologies, I wanted to just pause to reflect, because everybody gets something different from the podcast conversation. This is what has come to me as I'm listening to you. We're having this conversation, and other people will get something different, and that is the beauty of the podcast. But I wanted to just pause and then let you continue, because I think you are now in the US. Your journey of leaving
Yes.
Cameroon and in the US.
Yes. 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 So now, thank you so much. I mean, you accurately again articulately summarized it, and I'll try to be as from the lesson learned from Verma. I'll try to understand that the audience is very diverse. I get a little bit sucked in them, so I'll try to be a little bit descriptive. So that being said, I think I stopped where I came to the US and started working in the parking lot at Home Depot. But one of the lessons that I was the happiest lot attendant. You had like high school kids who call me and tell me to come load up stuff for customers. But the question they ever used to ask is, why are you always smiling? Why are you always happy? Because I saw the opportunity. It was more about the journey. It wasn't about where I was. And it became, and I always remembered what my mom used to say: always, always count on your education. Go back to school, it will never fail you. So while I was there, I registered for my master's program, and everybody kept on telling me, forget about your Cameroon degree and don't worry about it. It doesn't count in America. And like, I suffered too much for this degree. I cannot just throw it away. They told me to get into nursing. I said, no, that's not my journey in life. So again, being somebody who never gives up, and every opportunity or every challenge becomes an opportunity. I was the first one of the I think the first Cameroonian who actually forced one of the evaluation agencies to reevaluate our certificates, the degrees we have from Cameroon, and gave us an equivalent of a bachelor's degree. It wasn't the best, but at least after that, a bunch of other Cameroonians, it was easier for them now to basically come with their degree and get it reevaluated. Then on top of that, the organization, one of the organizations that represented me as part of my journey through my paperwork, I was the first Cameroonian that they were represented, and I created a relationship with them. And basically, they have represented a bunch of Cameroonians across the board. So I usually every struggle that I have, everything that I see, I always try to create an opportunity to help others in everything that I do. And I always remember my dad, my mom saying that, and that is how AMOM Foundation came into play. And I, in my home, in my household, at one point I forgot to add was that while I was working in Douala, I decided to help my parents educate my little brothers. It's something that happens in Africa. It was a pride for me, like, okay, no, Dad, don't forget. I mean, keep your little money in your pocket. I'm gonna, take care of this person. So they have taught, they had instilled in me the aspect of giving. But one thing, during one of my MBA classes, they talked about social entrepreneurship. And I asked the teacher, is this a business? Is this something that people do for a living? And she said, yes. And she said, why? I'm like, this is something that I've always liked to do, but I didn't know how to formalize it. So she gave us a class project. And with that class project, she said, go out to the community, do some charitable work, and come back and write about it. So I got $50. I bought a soccer ball and actually sent it to Ngonzen. Ngonzen is the village where my father grew up in, and we've been going out there. I'll say I'm from Ngonzen, So basically, I have a big relationship with Ngonzen, and that's the bridges you mentioned. That's where the bridges are being built. So the children were inspired by this soccer ball, and they won the regional championship for their first time. So I asked myself, if $50 can create that level of inspiration, how can I come in and formalize this whole process? And that's where AMOM, it was initially called AMOM Charity, now it's AMOM Foundation. And the teacher, the Dr. Sims, she actually became a pioneer board member. She basically now is an advisory board member, and she helped me along the way and built AMOM board. I mean, the board members we have, where some of them work for Grameen Foundation, Pratam, all the big organizations that you can think of in terms of nonprofit. And they've been extremely supportive throughout the years. And I'll proudly say AMOM has achieved quite a lot. We've built, as you said earlier, we are currently building bridges. We've built schools. We have provided didactic material, and we conducted a household-based assessment first in Cameroon. Household-based assessment. Again, I'll go back to where my struggle was, not being able to catch up in primary school, and I realized that there are kids who have that same struggle. And I said, those kids are forgotten kids. I need to find a way to reach out to those children. So I came in contact with this organization called Power Network, and they do assessment based on household-based assessment. Most of the assessments, they do literacy and numeracy assessment, and most of the assessments that are done in school. But one thing we forget to understand is that I'll give people a very basic challenge. Look at the first school living certificate graduation rate, the results. Look at the numbers. Look at the GCO level numbers. The highest dropout in Cameroon is between primary school and secondary school. Where do those children go to? But we keep on talking about children in school, children in school, children in school, children in school. Then not to talk of high school, university. Those children fall under the radar. So when you're doing assessment and you're basing it in going to schools, you are not capturing our children. Our children are all the children. So we actually did a household-based assessment, actually going to houses, and we did not do like a random, it's not going to any houses. We work with the National Bureau of Statistics to use the sampling methodology that they used, actually they use for population survey. And we work with the Ministry of Basic Education. We have an MOU with them. And what we did was that we used their pedagogic advisors to come up with a didactic material. And we use class 3 work. Why all of this? It might sound a little bit monotonous, but why all of this? I cannot come to you with data and results and you start challenging the results. And I'll just say, okay, I just did a random sampling and these are the results. It doesn't count. I came and used your methods, used your material. I'm talking of the Cameroon system. Use your material, use your specialists, use your statistical methodology, and these are the results. How can you argue with that? So what we ended up realizing, we did it in the Northwest. We did it Northwest rural, Northwest urban, Western rural, Western urban, and we did it for almost like 3,673 households. And the results are amazing. All right, let me give you for Northwest rural. We realized that almost 98% of the children could not read class 3 material, and the assessment age was between 6 and 16. Yes, those are the data. I'll send you the results. In rural areas, there were children, almost like 80 something percent of the children between 11 and 16 could not reach class 3 material. So we talk about children not going to school, and that's the impact in terms of numbers. So again, I won't take you down the rabbit hole of the assessment. I can talk about this all day, but why I did the assessment, or why that was such a passion for me, is because children out there having my own struggle initially, and not everybody has loving parents, supporting parents as I did. I had to create a system in such a way that those children who are left behind, they can be able to have the support that they need. And right now we're working on an intervention where it gets a child from a non-reader to a reader within 3 months. So we are working, we're trying to raise funds, we're trying to see how we can implement that project within the setup. So those children, which I call my children, will be able to catch up. So I used an opportunity as you said, a struggle, a challenge, and use that as an opportunity to be able to create an organization that reaches out to many more people in terms of education and support. And did you want to say something?
I was again just reflecting on the scale of what you did there, and I'm sure it wasn't easy. You make it sound easy, but I'm sure it wasn't. But that journey has also, I'm sure, taught you a lot of things, made a lot of connections with people to help to expand the work that you're doing at the moment and get more people to benefit, more children to benefit from education, and also transform their lives. And as you were speaking there, I was reflecting again and just really smiling, because it circles back to what I said at the beginning of this podcast, that the skill of turning struggles into success is a life skill, an essential life skill. It's good to learn it early. Some people are gifted, but you can also learn it. And the more you do it, the better you become. And you've just demonstrated that in what you've just outlined here. And then what the skills that you're demonstrating in terms of problem solving, resilience, leadership, innovation, and you describe being in a working, or you got to America, a parking lot, working in a parking lot, and people saying you're always smiling. And people would have said, "Oh, it's what you're doing looks difficult, but you're always smiling because you seem to enjoy facing struggles and using them as opportunities to become better and more successful." And that's exactly what I meant at the end of having fulfillment, happiness, finding purpose, being healthier, having even more better income and opportunities. And all that is demonstrated in what you've just outlined here. So really, really, thank you for sharing that, and fascinating. I wanted to ask you a bit more about the charity, to spend some time talking about the charitable work you do, fundraising and running marathons. So tell us a bit more about that. How did you start running marathons, and what led you to that path? And it must not be, I run 5K, so I don't run marathons, but after 5K, I do feel my joints complaining. And so I run 5K is my enjoyment distance. After that, it's a bit of a flog. So how do you do it, and how did you get into it? Tell us more about that. Was it also a struggle that got you to running marathons?
If I didn't know you, I would have said you're a mind reader, because that was my next topic. So again, when I started, I said, I'm made of many parts. So being who I am, I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm happy. I'm really grateful that my sister, Miranda Ngwa, and Nico, they welcomed me, and it was a seamless, because I lived in Houston. It was a seamless transition. But during that period, I've never been a runner in my life, as you know.
I know.
But
I was surprised also, because you were not running in Cameroon when
not
I
at
knew
all.
you, or in Australia when we were in
Not
primary
at
school.
all.
But you
Not
were
at
not
all.
running.
Yeah, I was a heavy kid. But what actually took my attention? I'm coming out here. I said, there's so much education about your health, and my dad being diabetic, and given the fact that he went into a diabetic coma and all of that, I educated myself a little bit more about it, and I said, okay, I'm prone to be diabetic given the genetic traits. So I had to do something about it. And lifestyle was one of the things that I knew was gonna impact. I had to work on. And the initial journey was more of starting doing triathlons, swimming, biking, and running. But I had to learn how to swim from scratch. I mean, from nowhere. So I learned how to swim and did my first triathlon. And while I was doing the triathlon, a friend of mine mentioned and told me that there was a marathon coming up in Charlotte. Charlotte, they used to call it Thunder Road Marathon. And I said, I've never heard about marathons before. So I called my very big grandfriend, Cletus Fotibo, and I said, "What? I've heard you've been doing marathons before." And he said, "You've been training, and all you need to do is just a 20-mile run." Like, what are you talking about? So again, the way I've been composed. Please don't tell me that I cannot do something, because I'm definitely going to find a way to do it. That is the following Saturday. I went out and I did a 20-mile run. That was my first training for a marathon. And I did the Thunder Road Marathon. He was there to support me. But one thing that happened, which a lot of people don't know, that happens during marathons, not only do you raise funds for charitable causes that you're passionate about, you meet the most positive, the most energetic, the happiest people on earth. There is no
Amazing.
way I'm not ever gonna stop running marathons. These guys have been training for 6 months. They have all this energy. Like, is it endorphins? They call it this whole. They're all very
Endorphin.
happy
Yeah.
people. You hardly see, yes, you hardly see a sad marathoner, right? You even see different age groups. Different age groups. I met a man at one time when we were doing a 5K, 82-year-old man, and I asked him. He said he's gonna be the first in his category, because there were three of them who used to run that race. The other two have died, so he's the only one around. So he's gonna be the first in his category. Very excited. You meet people who have suffered from stroke. It's an amazing world. It's an amazing world. Now, after the marathon, I told myself I'm never gonna run a marathon before, because the pain. There's a distance that they call the wall. That the wall is usually where your mind is fighting with your body to stop. Your mind is telling your body to stop, but you have to find that straight up balance. It's usually around mile 18 and mile 20. So I faced the wall for my first time, and some strange guy came and saw me struggling and told me, look, you got this. Let's run together. And a group of other people came, and we ran together all the way to the finish line. I've never met the guy since
Wow.
then. But that is how much we marathoners are. You see somebody struggling. When you talk about struggle and lifting people, marathons are usually, every single day you run a marathon, you see people out there. So now, being trying to tie my life together, I said, okay, I'm doing this AMOM charity work. This is an opportunity to run marathons and raise funds. So that's how I got now to tie marathons to fundraising, and also the fact that my dad had diabetes, and I didn't want to find myself in such a situation. And as time went by, I started running and running and running nonstop. And after a while, I said, I need to find a purpose within the marathon itself, because when you're running a local marathon for the same marathon 2-3 times, it gets a little bit monotonous. And I need to find a way to get this struggle out there and give it make it a bigger purpose, for put it in a bigger umbrella. And I heard about the Abbott 6 marathons. That's how I heard about it, when I was running with friends. And it's Chicago, New York, Boston, London, Berlin, Tokyo. And to get into those marathons is no joke, and it's not even cheap. So
Wow.
again, balance of lifestyle, Emmanuel, you cannot believe I had to stop drinking. I don't party. I just run. I just run. I get up every single day in my neighborhood. I'm out there at 5 a.m. running with the lights on, the blinkers on. I run 4 times a week. I do cross training, CrossFit, 2 times a week. Currently, I'm injured on my shoulder. It's okay. It's pain that will go by.
I know the feeling.
you
I
know,
know the feeling.
so
Unfortunately,
so it's okay. So that's how I got into doing the Abbott. Then when I was doing Berlin Marathon, like when it comes to the Guinness World Challenge, you have Berlin, I think Toronto Marathon and Sydney. Those are three major marathons that you tend to have is it adjudicator or something? The people who actually help to witness your marathon. So I saw guys having fun. This guy bouncing basketballs, two basketballs while running a marathon. Another guy running in ski boots. Another guy running with a pineapple balance on his head. One running with pajamas. Another one. I mean, it was amazing. And I saw people, all of them running for a purpose, raising money for charity at the same time. Challenging themselves beyond their natural boundaries. And I was so amazed and intrigued. And something they say, God talks to you, and something just hit my mind. Like, why don't I run in Togo? Why don't I try a category, come up with a category to run in Togo? And as soon as I went back to the hotel, I wrote that down as one of the things I had to do. So I came. Getting the category into the Guinness World Record was a challenge. It was a lot of education, as most of the things. Got rejected a few times here and there, but finally they accepted the category. And people think it's easy to get into the Guinness World Record. This was my fifth attempt. My fifth attempt because the first time I did it, they required evidence. Evidence, when they said evidence, they needed me to stop at every mile marker to take a picture. So in London, I was having fun stopping and taking pictures, but I did not know that I had a time limit. So when I came in and submitted the evidence and everything, they rejected. They said, it was devastating. I mean, my world almost fell apart. And they said you needed to do it in 4 hours, 45 minutes.
wow.
And in London, I did it in 4 hours, 18 minutes. 5 hours, 18 minutes. And I said, but I need to, you did not tell me, going back and forth, that it was not written as part of the guidelines. I said, okay, fine. You're talking to the wrong person. I'm going to try again.
You're going
I
to do
went to
it.
Greece. And one of the things about Greece is that that's where marathon actually started. I did that marathon for the significance of it. We went to the village called Marathon, where marathons have been named. That's
Wow.
where they actually started to run the first marathon I ran from Marathon Village all the way to Athens. So I did it in Togo as part of the that journey. But unfortunately, it was too hot. It was hilly. So I did it in 5 hours something. But I still came and submitted the evidence. It did not work out. I got rejected. Then I went to I did many others in Boston. I did Boston. It did not work out still. But Sydney. We went back to Australia. Went back to our hometown, Canberra. Even went all
Canberra.
around. Unfortunately, I didn't visit Forest, right? But I when I did it in Sydney, I was determined. I'd corrected all my mistakes. I did everything, but it was extremely hot. It was like in the 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So by the time I was just trying to survive when I did that marathon. So I did it in 5 hours 28 minutes. And then when I came back, everybody started saying, "But why don't you take the Guinness guys to court? Why don't you do this?" I said, "No, there's something that I'm doing wrong that I need to readjust." And I decided to look for a coach, a running coach. I looked for a nutritionist. I looked for a therapist. I did everything. I invested my little pocket money that my wife lets me have. I invested it into all of those things. And guess what? It paid off. In Tokyo, my coach actually made sure that I follow up with the training program. And also in the nutritionist, they actually measured the way I sweat. and came up with a way that I could actually came up with my nutrition plan and included my salt intake. I don't like pasta, but it made me. I started hydrating and eating carb load, as they call it, 1 week before the marathon. So in Tokyo, I was ready and I knew exactly that I had to pace myself. Leroy, when I got to the finish line, because in marathons there's clock time and there's a clock time and your actual time. So the clock time means the fast marathoners, that's when they start counting, like the Kipchoges, that's when the clock starts. And the actual time is when you cross the start line, when the chip picks up. So I was determined to even go past the finish line at the clock time, not my time. So one of the things that happened in terms of struggle, I was struggling. I had the Gatorade electrolyte drink that they provided during the marathon. Something that I never tested before. With the salt pills that I was taking, my stomach became a laboratory. So a lot of gas developed, and at mile 20, I found myself slowing down. And this is what came to my mind. My little daughters, who were all waiting for me, my dad, because I run with a picture of my dad and my late uncle, his rosary, and I also run with this was given to me by my daughters. It never gets off to my hand. And my wife actually she was diagnosed with cancer, so I also work with something. She's a cancer survivor, so I also work with something. I run with something to honor her struggle. And when I got to that stage, everything came to mind, like all this struggle, everything. Am I gonna give up at this phase? And I had to push myself, but at one point, I literally threw up. The gas actually had to come out in one way or the other. But as soon as I got that relief, with all of that in my mind, I made it. I made it to the finish line at 4 hours 45 minutes clock time, and Guinness record 4 hours 24 minutes and 2 seconds. So when I submitted the evidence and finally got the approval, it was quite an honor, and I'm happy that I'm really grateful to all the supporters, the Cameroonian community. I saw the social media outbursts. Sometimes you wonder, like, something that you started as a little thing, now it's picking up. And I just want to let everybody, the struggle has not stopped. The Togo marathoner is doing a marathon on every continent in Togo. So I already have the one planned for Antarctica. I have the one planned for South America in Medellin in September. Then I'm going to finish up in Africa, because I've already done it in 4 continents. I'm going to finish up in Africa, in South Africa. And hopefully we can have a bunch of people, supporters, come out there in Togo. So again, that is my struggle in terms of getting into marathons, fundraising, using it as an opportunity to be able to reach out to people.
Wow, such an inspiring journey, and I was listening to that, and it's such a beautiful story. And I also see how you found a purpose through all these struggles, and you're now so focused, and you've got so much support from your family, your daughters and wife, and you've also brought their lives and their own experience into the work that you're doing. You also highlighted the importance of having a coach, especially when you're having people around you who can support you, but also people who are experts who can support you when you're dealing with a struggle, because you were trying to get below that 5 hour time and struggling, but with people who could work on your diet, on physiotherapy, on rest, on rehydration, you were able to do it. And then what also really inspired me was the importance of when you hit that wall, being able to dig deep. And what helps you dig deep is when you've also got that purpose, because you knew you could not let down the cause. You had people supporting you physically there, people supporting you spiritually there, dad, so supporting you. You always run with his picture, as you said. Mom also back home in Cameroon, the rest of the family, her friends, and supporting you all over the world. And that also took you across the line in time. And when you are faced with a struggle, you do need that extra force to get you through. And if you don't have people around you and you don't have a purpose, then it's difficult to do that. And you can see that in the stories that you've just outlined. We're coming close to the hour, and so I wanted to ask if there was something else you wanted to tell us about your journey from struggle to success before we round up, and perhaps
Yeah.
tell us a take home message. There's so much that you have given us, so much. It's like a book. If you're faced with a struggle, what is the one thing you should do? Do. What is one thing you should not do? A don't, as a take home message. And so, if there's
Okay.
anything else you want to share, but
Yep.
also one do and one don't when faced with a struggle.
So my motto in life has always been every issue that comes to you, there's this story where it actually says, where they say Michael Jackson got up his producer at night and said they need to work on an idea that he had, and he was asking why now, and he said, if I don't work on it, God is gonna take it and give it to Prince. So one thing is that when you are in the midst of you're struggling, there's always that message. There's always that opportunity that comes to you. There's always a message that comes to you on how to find a way out. And don't ignore it, because once you focus a lot on the negatives, you don't give window for positivity. And also, I'm very open. Once I have a struggle, I'm in struggling with something, I'm quite open and I talk to people. And it's amazing at the amount of level of support that we tend to have from our own community. Never shy away. I mean, we're even talking about, if even marathons, I'll talk to children, my kids, I'll talk to them about the challenges. And amazing enough, they provide me with a lot of insight. They are my biggest they are my biggest critics, and they are my
Yeah.
biggest supporters. So
Wow.
nobody is then I know within our community, and again I'll talk about the Cameroonian context, there's the age factor, the grand frère, petit frère, don't layer yourself. You never know what the next person, the new generation, they tend to have a lot more information than we think we know. We are wiser, no doubt, but there are a lot of things that if you open up to them and you have all these struggles and you're talking to them, you'll be amazed at what you can come out with. Then converting all of this struggle, always look for an opportunity, right? Always help, give back. Always go get whatever lessons you've learned, go back and give back. And one of the things that they will ask me, like, okay, running these marathons, what apart from giving back in terms of charity, one of the things I'm going to be giving back is I'm going to be certified in the next 2 weeks, an American Road Runner certified coach. So
Wow.
I'm starting a coaching program, and the coaching program for adults you pay, but for kids, I'm going to be focused on kids with special needs during summer. And for that, once we can work with what we have had from AMOM, we are hoping that it's going to be a free summer camp. And again, it's special needs kids, maybe other kids down the line as the program grows. But those are like the little pieces of my struggle that I always want to make sure that I can provide to the community. Then again, on top of that, as an entrepreneur, I have this barbecue sauce that I created. It's a smoky barbecue sauce. It's spicy and not spicy version. And the pepper itself, they call it Carolina Reaper. I think, you can go to www.hoticereport.com. But what happens is that what goes into that is that part of the proceeds from the sales of this products actually goes to fund this program. So the
Wow.
way you can
Amazing.
support is, go in there and support the program. But fast forward, I sound like a marketer. But fast forward, the aim of the barbecue sauce, we're actually getting into stores very soon. The aim of the barbecue sauce, again, my main goal is to create an industry, a factory, where it's gonna employ only special needs children. Of course, they will have
Wow.
somebody, the CEO at the top, but it's gonna give an opportunity to all child who has been identified with any special need in any way. And you'll be amazed that the COO of the pepper business is no other person than Verma. She is so effective. She doesn't mess around when she has to work, and she gets paid. So
Wow.
again, you use an opportunity, and please, when you have, learn to talk. Don't die. Don't drown in your. I don't want to call it problems. I call it more of opportunities to rise above, and always go out and run. Go out and do exercise in one form or the other, because the body is a temple. Once you sit there and you're sad and you're sitting and not doing anything to help the body, same mentally, it actually impacts you. And you doctors, you can testify to that. Once you go out, I call running my training period my me time. After this, I'm gonna do an 8 mile run. It's my me time. I have time to reflect, to think about all these things that I've been doing, and by the time I come back, I have enough energy to walk around, do help around the house and everything. And I really don't feel, I really hardly have any downtime. So again, I just want everybody to please use hard anything that you're going through as an opportunity, and as much as it can be tough, get out there and use your community and talk to people.
Thank you. What an amazing way to um, conclude the podcast. You have provided a live demonstration of the importance of the skill of turning struggles into success, and how you have used that in your life journey so far, and how you have taken struggles and completely turn them into opportunities and make the world a better place. And that is really what it's about. And if each and every one of us can learn that skill, it's an essential life skill. It's not taught in schools, unfortunately, but it should be taught in schools. And our mission is to get it to be taught in schools, and for people to also to develop the skills at work and in the community. And if all of us can do what you have just demonstrated, then we'll make the world a better place, because we're able to take all the different struggles that are opportunities around us and transform it into something better. And that is what you've done. You see a desert, you transform it into an oasis. And that's exactly what you've done. Some other people will see it and freeze and think, wow, this is terrible. I can't do anything with this. And they'll turn and go and do something different and abandon. But instead, you tackle it head on and change it and make something much better out of it. And that is really what this podcast is about. And you've demonstrated it so well. And I really want to thank you again for giving up your time. You have also recruited a lot of marathoners. I'm sure you will find people going to go and get their sports shoes out and get their shorts and togo also
Yep.
to start also competing. You may have
Yes,
competition
Togo.
now with the
Yeah.
Guinness Book of
Yep.
Records.
Please,
People trying to run
please.
faster.
That's the whole aim. That's the whole aim. Go out there. Come on. We create a category. Let's go. There's the female category open. The male category still has, of course, I'm a record holder, but please, guys, go out there and beat that record. You'll make us
Amazing,
extremely proud. Yeah,
amazing. And
yeah.
we're
And
going to also
Emmanuel,
put. Yes, you were going to
mhm.
say.
I wanted to thank you so much. What you're doing is amazing, and you're gonna reach a billion viewers. That I'm 100% sure. Every journey starts slowly, but eventually it projects up to something else, and it just amazes me. Like, Emmanuel, Doctor, what is it? Nambudoka. You're wearing so many hats, and now you're running a podcast, and we talk about somebody who basically is very versatile, and you inspire us a lot. And the first time I saw this, I watched your podcast. I've been inspired to watch it all the time. Please, everybody who's watching, share. And you've got a big fan. My wife is a fan, and all my friends are gonna be following you going forward. I'll make sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We inspire each other, and that's what this podcast is about, bringing people who have experience, who are doing amazing things, to also share their story and inspire others. And that's the movement. That's how we're going to change the world. So again, thank you very much. We're going to also put some details and about the AMOM Foundation fundraising also in the description, so people can follow that. And any other information which you provide, we'll put that in the description, so people can also support what you're doing. So once more, I want to thank you. It's been a pleasure, and you've shared so much. It's been such a rich podcast. Thank you to all our listeners. Continue to share, like, and subscribe. And I'm sure we will meet our mission in the next 12 months to make this podcast one of the most popular self-development podcasts on YouTube and change lives. Thank you, and see you on our next episode. Thank you. Bye-bye.